What if I told you that green bananas actually performed better than antidepressants, SSRIs, in clinical studies over and over again? And so this is actually because the right gut bacteria make molecules called short chain fatty acids that literally activate your vagus nerve, which connects your brain to your heart, to your lungs, to your gut. It connects these four different systems and basically acts like a calculator, taking inputs from all four to decide how stressed your body as a whole should be. So if I am thinking in a super stressed out way, it will directly increase my heart rate, it will increase my lungs, and it will increase my gut stress, and vice versa for all of those. And so these short chain fatty acids, when you take them, when you put them in your gut, they actually stimulate the vagus nerve to start being calmed down. And so today we're going to break down how that works exactly and how you can optimize for this. So, short chain fatty acids are small fatty acids your gut microbes make whenever they ferment soluble fibers or resistant starches. So, soluble fibers and resistant starches are different from insoluble fiber. This is very important. Insoluble fiber is useless. It does absolutely nothing. All studies on it are based on epidemiology and faulty study mechanisms. Soluble fiber, on the other hand, is completely different. Everything good about fiber is with soluble fiber. It does directly bind to toxins. It does produce anti-inflammatory chemicals. You want to maximize your soluble fiber and completely minimize insoluble fiber as much as possible because it actually hurts nutrient absorption. So, and then resistant starches are when you heat up a carbohydrate, and then you put it in the fridge and then you eat it. So, like for example, you take beans, you bake them, or you cook them, you put them in the fridge, and then you eat them later. That produces resistant starches, which will be fermentable by your gut to produce short chain fatty acids. And so these fatty acids are broken into three subcategories: acetate, propionate, and butyrate. And so they're basically made in your colon whenever bacteria digest these fermentable fibers and starches. And their role is basically to fuel colon cells. This is what butyrate does. It is the number one fuel source for your gut lining, and it actually performs a lot better than most other sorts of gut protocols like probiotics and stuff like that. And so they also function as signal molecules to tell your body that it is in a calm state. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And then finally, it also stimulates GLP-1 and CCK. And so GLP-1, you're also decreasing your hunger signals, and it also increases your vagal tone or vagus nerve stimulation. And so butyrate, how this works, so they actually function in more ways than just vagus nerve. So you're hitting it in like three different ways, which is absolutely insane. So it is massively beneficial for depression. Like vagus nerve toning is extremely tied, or weak vagus nerve is extremely tied to depression and anxiety, and even epilepsy. Like when you stimulate your vagus nerve, epilepsy can actually decrease by 35%, which is absolutely insane. That's just by eating green bananas, you can decrease epilepsy. Who would have thought, according to these studies? And so, butyrate and to a lesser degree acetate, which are those short chain fatty acids, blocks enzymes called HDACs or histone deacetylases. And so, what these do is histone deacetylases, they go into your chromosomes, and so your chromosomes basically are like this little, it's kind of like a thread wheel. If you've ever seen those little thread wheels that have like the thread just wrapped around it a million times. And so basically what this is that histones are like that thread wheel. And so acetylation decides how loose the strings around the thread wheel are, the histone are. And so basically, those threads are like your genes. Your genes are like 125 miles long in each cell if you unwrapped it or something like that. And so it's tied around each of these thread wheels called histones. And so you want those to be as loose as possible. Or you want them to be looser than they generally are. You don't want them completely loose, but you know what I mean. And this is because the looser they are, the more genes you have access to. So genes are kind of like a recipe book. Your cells can come in and or enzymes can come in and they can pick out little recipes from it. Like for example, how to make glutathione and then copy it and then go produce some glutathione. They can go into it and figure out how to make human growth hormone, copy it and then go make it. And so the problem is that when you're under stress or any sort of stress tightens these histones, and this is called deacetylate, or this is deacetylating the histone, and this is what HDACs do, is they tighten it, and so you have less access to genes, which means you start producing more inflammatory enzymes and proteins and stuff like that. And so when you start eating soluble fibers and fermentable fibers and stuff like that, it blocks histone deacetylases, so it allows those thread wheels to just ease up and let all your genes be available to be used. Okay. And so this boosts T regulatory cells, which decrease a bunch of different inflammatory cells like TNF alpha, IL-1 beta, and IL-6. And these are, especially IL-6, these are highly, highly, highly tied to depression. I cannot stress this enough. If you have IL-6, you're going to be anxious. It's extremely tied to depression and anxiety. So this is actually insane, the amount of effect that just getting soluble fibers can do by producing these short chain fatty acids to block these. And so now how they boost vagal tone. Basically, along the lining of your gut are those vagal afferent neurons, and these are basically the little tips of the vagus nerve that we were talking about earlier. So they have little tips of the vagus nerve at the bottom, and so these different short chain fatty acids can actually go up and bind to them, and this stimulates FFAR2 and FFAR3. And these signals to your brain through the vagus nerve that everything's calm and it should calm down. And so this increases vagal firing rate and then helps you to calm down. And so basically, the vagus nerve is your anti-stress brake pedal pretty much. It lowers inflammation and improves your recovery from any sort of stress. And so when you're in a higher vagal tone, you're going to be in a better mood. You're going to have better immune control, actually, which is crazy. You're going to have better digestion and resilience. And you're going to basically reduce your anxiety just because, like we said, the brain is tied to the heart, is tied to the lungs, is tied to the gut. And so in clinical studies, vagus nerve stimulation actually shows 25 to 31% seizure reduction on average. That's actually insane. Seizures can be reduced just by eating or fixing your vagus nerve, which you can do just through eating soluble fibers. And then you can also show consistent responses, consistent decreased depression over 3 to 12 months. And so this is actually better clinical research than SSRIs. SSRIs being the most common depression treatment. SSRIs don't even have an effect beyond placebo. When we've done multiple, like 3 different analyses have been done, and SSRIs do like absolutely nothing beyond the placebo effect, which is absolutely insane. Whereas these soluble fibers actually decrease it over 3 to 12 months. And so inflammation also drops with those other cytokines we mentioned earlier. And so basically the types of, well, we need to discuss how you can actually get these in your diet. So, resistant starches, these are one of the things that can be fermented to produce short chain fatty acids. They're about 3 times better than soluble fiber, but we need better studies to like basically confirm how much they compare. So basically, you can get these from green banana fiber. About 30 grams will be what you need to reach your goals. And so basically, the reason why this is because ripe bananas basically get rid of all their resistant starches to convert them to sugars, which is why green bananas aren't sweet, while ripe ones are. And so you can just get green banana flour online and it'll just be a powder form. And that is probably what I'll likely do. And then that is the best one for resistant starches. You can also get Arabic gum or chicory root. That chicory root will help you get inulin and fructans and pectin in your diet, which are different types of soluble fibers. Then there's also apples. I wouldn't suggest that just because it takes you out of ketosis. And then you can also get citrus peel, acacia fiber. Oh yeah, that's gum arabic. That'll help you a lot. And so yeah, those are the best foods you can do. Although there are other foods obviously that have short chain fatty acids. And so yeah, hope you liked the video. If you liked it, comment and leave a like, and I'll see you in the next video.